Hello and welcome to the Life of a Showgirl portal, the Taylor Swift album listening club that I am inviting you to join me in or join my journey alongside me as I do this project for myself. I create little fun clubs for myself where there's something exciting going on in the world of one of the things that I am a fan of, that I love, and this is a ripe, magical time in which to tune into that energy. So we have a Taylor Swift album coming up in October. And so I got out my planner, I got out my lunar logbook, and I wrote down my schedule for re-listening to all of the 11 albums that have come before TS12. And it's been really, really fun so far. So I started doing this on my Substack. I posted for debut and I posted an essay for Fearless, and then for Speak Now, it felt right to speak now. And I was originally going to write in more of a flowy stream of consciousness kind of way, but then I thought, why don't I just come on here and chat with you? Because part of the parameters for this project, it's okay, here are the rules. You listen intentionally to all of Taylor's previous albums leading up to her 12th album. And for me, it's you put together an outfit that from my capsule wardrobe that is me experiencing that era. And for Speak Now, I decided to do Sparks Fly, Enchanted, Starry, Magician. And by making this a video, I get to wear my cape on the internet. So here we are. Hi. I am really excited to invite you in on this project with me because I don't really know where it's going to take me. That's the nature of a portal, but by just trying it out and following the call, I am learning along the way the purpose of it. And a key purpose of this Taylor Swift project so far is to interact with the things that I'm consuming, the things that I am listening to as an audience member, and using that as a jumping off point for creating something, anything in my own life. At the very least, an outfit. That's the bare minimum. And I don't know if I'm going to be posting something online for every album because there's a lot of them, but so far I've been called to, and so here we are. And for debut, this was simply sharing some thoughts about what that era meant for me. You can go read it. And for Fearless, I felt called to write an essay about the complex paradox of my feelings towards Taylor Swift, who's somebody whose music I love so much. And I also have some grief as a person of color for having all of my favorite things, be it Taylor Swift or William Shakespeare, being made by white people. And I'm not blaming the white people, but I feel like I wish I had some more flavor to work with. And we have Olivia Rodrigo now, so that's great. But you can read that essay as well. But for this today, I wanted to come on here and just use my voice because that is what I love most about Speak Now. So the story goes, Taylor was getting a lot of acclaim for Fearless, but some critics were doubting whether this young woman was pulling her weight in the songwriting sessions, and how dare they? In response to that, Taylor decided to write an entire album by herself. So for Speak Now, all of the songs are only, she's the only writer on those songs. And I just think that's such an incredible time capsule that captures that moment in time of her life where her goal for this project, and on the wonderful New Heights podcast in which we get to hear her speak more at length about her creative process. She has goals for the different albums. Her goal for Speak Now I think it was like to prove herself, but also I choose to look at it like it was to use her voice and to see like how fully that could materialize, how much she could say with the limitations and the richness of just her experience. And so I want to take that as inspiration for how I'm responding to this particular album and era. Oh my gosh, so Speak Now, I just looked it up to see exactly what year it came out in. It was 2010. It came out on October 25th, 2010. And I'm excited about that because I am starting my fun club portal experience. This is different from the Taylor Swift one. This is one for you where you're invited into the treehouse to reconnect what you love to do for fun, the meaning behind that, the liberation of that. You are invited to join me for that, and that starts on 25/10/25 or 10/25/25, depending on how you like to look at dates numerically. But let's go back to 2010 when Speak Now came out, and I forget what I was saying about it. Okay, so Speak Now came out in 2010, and a lot of it feels like very 2010, especially because I've been enjoying going and watching the music videos and watching a recording of the world tour. And some of the outfit choices and the aesthetics are very much like Glee and Gossip Girl, especially The Story of Us. That music video is a hidden gem. If you haven't seen it, it just feels like it's that time period, and I love it. It's also that song always makes me think of Persuasion by Jane Austen. So if you've read it, listen to the song again through that lens and come back and let me know how you feel about that. But yes, so this idea of like a young woman expressing herself in her own words feels very relevant now because the nature of self-expression is changing majorly. There are a couple of reasons for this. Number one, I would say, is AI and the fears around that or the capabilities around that, where it's like you can get a robot to say something really coherently now. That was not the case in 2010. And so if you can get a robot to correct your grammar or to like write an essay for you or write a script for you, the value that you bring as an artist, as a speaker, as a person is just that. It is your artistry, it is your expression, it is your humanity. And so it felt important for me to come on and express this imperfectly and on the fly to illustrate that like us just being present together is a big draw these days. Like that's going to be more and more and more important, is just you showing up. And that should be a really liberating idea where you don't have to put something together so perfectly and so professionally looking. It's not about appearances anymore because appearances are easier and easier to materialize, to replicate, to create. Like I always think about this because I was a blogger in the early days of that happening on the internet, and let me tell you, I had to learn HTML for every time I wanted to bold or italicize something. If I wanted to insert an image, I would have to code that in. And now I use Canva and can generate, this is not an ad for Canva, but you can use these tools online to remove the background, to make the words. You've used the internet before, but this stuff all had to be hand done before. And so you could see what brands were perceived as professional because they had invested a lot of money into hiring professional designers. But now you don't need to hire a professional designer. You don't need to hire a professional copywriter. You can get robots to do all of that for you. And so what we're really valuing, because we have we're overwhelmed by the amount of really polished looking things, is just who do I vibe with as a person? And if I can just come online and cover myself in stars, that might be enough for you to be like, you're my kind of person. And what a relief that is. This is so much easier. That is changing the way that we use self-expression these days, is an increased awareness of social justice and inclusivity, and reading the room around, is it even appropriate to talk about Taylor Swift right now when there are global crises, many of them happening? Like, why are we talking about Taylor Swift? And so this fear of being taken out of context, because we're all mixed together in the feed. Again, going back to my early blogging days, you would have to go www. and go to my page specifically in order to read what I had to say. You're choosing to opt into that space. Whereas now everything is just being thrown together, and I can't, as a creator, can't control in what context my work is received. And if we're getting into like theory here a little bit, but that's always been the case. Is I don't know if somebody is reading my blog and they happen to be like get a phone call that has really bad news on it. Like that concept of being interrupted or being taken out of context, that's always existed. That's not a new thing. It is just dialed way up right now. And so I think it's a really good thing that people are considering this, right? Because this shows that the revolution is working. There's social pressure to keep Palestine in the conversation, to continue to address fascism and the many problems that colonialism has. There's pressure to keep that relevant, and if that feels uncomfortable, it's because it is uncomfortable, and you can't just ignore all of that, because if you try to set it aside, it will be bubbling beneath the surface. And so this is something that creatives need to continue to be paying attention to, because that continuing to learn about and read about and listen to other human perspectives about is something that can inform all of the art that we create. Now, where the idea of speak now and human self-expression comes into this is that I think there is a lot of emphasis, or a lot of focus on the fear of doing it wrong, the fear of like, oh, I don't want to even touch that because I don't want to say it wrong. I know that if I speak up for something, then I'm going to be held accountable for like using the correct language around it. And so I think that keeps people from going into that activist space at all. It also keeps people from using their voice for anything at all, because for fear of being out of touch, or for fear of like, I don't want to show up, because if I'm showing up, I should be talking about something that's more serious than a Taylor Swift album that came out in 2010. That is a really honest take, to be like, I want to say something and I don't know what the right words are, or I want to say something and I don't know if it's okay to, or like something about it feels off. Listen to that feeling of something not being quite right. And then if you don't know what to say, but you want to say something, and you should say something, and I'm not saying like you need to be advocating for whatever, just you need to be speaking, because you're a human and not a robot. And it can be speaking it out loud to an empty room. And we're not speaking. Oh my God, I didn't mean to do that. Now I'm standing alone in a crowded room and we're not speaking. Yeah. It's like I'm standing alone in an empty room and I am speaking. Okay? But it's important to practice. You can also like just sing. And it can be you're alone in the forest and you're singing. I love to do this. And it's using your voice, because using your voice at all, even if you're not constructing your own words or lyrics or essays or soliloquies, using your voice is practicing that. Just like if you want to practice being seen, you don't have to be on stage. You don't have to be at an open mic night. You don't have to be delivering a TED talk. You can just be out in the street where there are other people on the street and they could see you. They might not even be looking at you, but they could. That is practicing visibility for introverts. I want you to practice. I invite you to practice if you want. If you love art, and that art can be a Taylor Swift song, that can be an episode of reality TV, it can be going to the theater. After you listen, think about, what did it spark for you? What sparks flew for you? And write that down. Speak that aloud in your own words. What are you taking away from this experience? And no, you don't have to get into like the criticism of like, well, the intertextuality and this symbolism. We're not trying to be smart, although you are smart. You're very wise. We're not trying to be like, oh, this is the formal assessment of what this was, and this is why it was good, or this is why it was bad. By the way, I was a theater critic in a former iteration of self. I have many opinions on critiquing the arts. And most of all, I think that criticism, its role is to let the conversation around the art bloom. So I'm inviting you to be a critic in that sense of pointing to something that may seem irrelevant or weirdly specific and niche about, like, I really liked the collars on the shirts in the movie Nosferatu. That's what I took away from that movie. Is that what anybody else took away as the main thing that they loved about Nosferatu? If so, let me know. But I invite you to pick up on something. And it doesn't have to be like the main most important thing, but it is the main most important thing to you because it has captured it has caught your eye in some sense. And then I want you to create something with it, whether it's jotting that down on a Post-it note, telling your friend that you went to the cinema with, honestly, it was the collars for me. It can be a painting. It can be a song. It can be something different every time that you listen to a different Taylor Swift album. I don't know what my 1989 creation will be like, but I'm kind of bigging it up in my mind because that's my favorite album, that and Folklore. I can't wait, but it's Red next. I don't know what I'm gonna do for Red, but we'll see when we get there. That is the joy of making this little structure for myself and getting to reflect on my personal history with Taylor Swift and her music, and to check in from that vantage point to where I am today. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful because in October 2010, I moved to Oxford on 10-10-10 before I knew what angel numbers were. Can you believe that? I moved to Oxford to follow magic, to follow my dreams, to follow my literary rebelliousness. And all I wanted to do was write about it and share about it and geek out about it with all of you, and to celebrate the wisdom of it and the truth of it, and how that magic is real. I knew it was real because it got me there. It got me across the pond, as they say, from Boston to England, even though it felt impossible. And then from there, the next step was to come here to Edinburgh, Scotland. And I've just enjoyed my 10th Fringe Festival. Edinburgh has this amazing, the most enormous performing arts festival in the world. And is that true? 10 years? Yeah, 10 years of getting to enjoy that and interact with that and be a part of that. So I'm just really happy. I'm really happy that I'm following my dream of writing in coffee shops every day and sharing the magic with all of you. So Thank you for being here, for joining me in that, for that celebration moment. And yeah, there's more of this coming on zonjawthewitch.substack.com in some form or another. And if you feel called to join me in Fun Club as well, I'll be sharing more about that. But you can find the link in the meantime in the description. Goodbye. Stay beautiful.